Welcome to Mrs. Hardison's TI 8384 Calculator Basics lesson. I want to start by telling you about the calculator. This is the home screen. This is where you will see what you enter and your answers. This row of keys is called the graphing keys. This is, of course, your navigation keys. It helps you move your cursor around. The rest of the keyboard should look very similar to any standard scientific calculator that you've used in the past. The difference is that every button on the TI has multiple purposes. For example, above the x squared button is the square root function as well as the letter I. So to access these, say you want to square something, you hit, let me clear this away. Clear is a very useful button to know. 5 squared, and then you hit enter and it'll give you your answers, 25. If you want to use the square root feature, just hit second function, x squared, which gives you the square root sign, and then you can enter in your question there and hit enter and it'll give you your answer. Note at this time that if I move too fast and you don't know what I've hit, my key press history is listed down here along the bottom. Another thing that I want you to notice is that I'm picking really simple questions. If you have to type any of these into your calculator, I hope you do some serious reviewing because I'm going to use, for the sake of expediency, very simple questions that you shouldn't have to use a calculator for. One other thing I want you to notice, if you didn't, is that the square root is an inverse function of x squared. So if you take a look around, a lot of these buttons, if you hit second function, it will give you the inverse function of that key. And last of all, I want you to notice that if you want to use all letters, for example, you're going to type a letter, and this is the slowest, most cumbersome way to do it, you can hit second function alpha, which will give you the alpha lock. So second function alpha. It'll give you an alpha lock, which means that any button you push, it will automatically use the green letters. That is your way around, and the first thing that I want us to do is to identify your calculator so that if there's ever any confusion, whether it's yours or somebody else's, you will have a record of your specific calculator. To do that, we have to go into the memory menu. So if you hit second function plus, which gives you the memory menu, you will get a menu that looks like this. The first thing we want to do is one is highlighted, so we can either hit 1 because that's what we want, or we can hit enter and that will select that option for us as well. So whichever's faster. For example, enter would not be very fast. Scrolling down and then hitting enter would not be very fast to get to 7, but hitting number 7 and automatically going there would be more efficient. So just learn to use your calculator and learn to use it as efficiently as possible. So right now we want to go to the About menu and hit enter. My screen only shows the Smart View screen, and it has a product number here. On your calculator, underneath the product number, it will also say ID number. I want you to copy this number down because every single TI has a unique number, and if you ever get yours confused with anybody else's, you can identify it by this ID number. There's another thing you can do. If you bring your calculator to me in class, I will etch your name into it for you, and that way nobody else can confuse your calculator with theirs either. So the second thing we want to do in this menu, and I want to go back to the main screen, so I'm going to again hit second function plus, and a lot of you have played with your calculators, and I bet you more than one of you has gotten an error. A lot of the errors that you've put into it is going to come back to bite us later on, especially when we're trying to graph. So what I want us to do is to factory reset your machine. So number 7 is reset. And so if you just click on the number 7, it'll go to reset. We want to reset all of it. So take your arrow key and scroll over to all. And then, yes, we want to reset all the memory. And it asks you yet again, are you sure? And we're going to say, yes, reset, which is number 2. And so it'll reset the whole calculator for you, and the memory is cleared. Then what we'll want to do is learn our way around and to learn some shortcuts. One of the things about this calculator that messes people up is the fact that it has a subtraction key. as well as a separate negative sign. I hope you never use your calculator for problems this easy. Again, I repeat, but for the sake of speed, I'm going to use simple problems for demonstration purposes. Let's clear this. If you want to do 5 minus 2, be sure to use the subtraction key. If you want to calculate 5 minus negative 2, when we write it by hand, I encouraged people to use parentheses, but on the calculator, the negative sign actually looks significantly different, and so you do not have to use parentheses. And then this is how you would say 5 minus negative 2. If you make a mistake and you want to do 5 minus 2 and you accidentally hit the negative sign, if you don't look at it very closely, it looks like you've typed in what you wanted, but when you hit enter, it'll actually give you an error, syntax error. You can either quit and go back to where you were, or if you hit 2, it'll actually show you where that error is. So I'm going to press 2, and it will take your cursor and highlight this negative sign in between and say, hey, this is a negative sign. I don't know what to do here. And so you just want to change it to a minus, and it'll give you the right answer. We already talked about using the x squared button, but there are 2 different and powerful ways this calculator can do exponents, or 2 other ways other than the x squared button. So we already tried f squared, but what if we want to do more than squared? What if we want to cube? Or what if we want to do a different power? So I'm going to raise 5 to the 15th power. And so I'm going to hit 5, and then I'm going to hit this little caret. And whoops, I hit 55. So let me scroll back. And I'm on top of this 5, and all I have to do is hit the delete button, okay? And then I want to go back to this, yes, to the caret. So I want to hit 15. So this is 5 raised to the 15th power, and I'm going to hit enter. And it gives me an answer. And oh, lo and behold, the answer is a little bit confusing. It has this E in here. Well, I wanted it to give this to you because it leads us straight into scientific notation. E on this calculator stands for times 10 to the power of. So the answer is actually 3.05 times 10 to the power of 10. We automatically know that 3.05 times 10 to the 10th power is 30,500,000,000, right? If you don't know that, sit down with scientific notation for a bit and figure out how much is a million, how much is a billion, so that you can be educated about using scientific notation. For example, what is the square root of 1,000,000? We can use the E shorthand by pressing function, comma. So we're going to say we want to know the square root of 1,000,000. This is 1 second function, comma, which gives us this E. And million is actually to the 6th power. And then all you do is hit enter, and it gives you your answer. 1,000 is the square root of 1,000,000. If you want to use this number in a new calculation, all you have to do is hit second function, and this negative sign gives you the answer, and this means the answer that you just were given. So if you hit second function answer, you get 1,000. So we want to take 1,000 now and say divided by 8. That gives us 125. If you want to now check 1,000 divided by 8 and see if it's 125, you're more than welcome to. Let's see how to move our cursor around because it can be a little bit tricky. I want to find out the square root of 4,000,000 instead of the square root of 1,000,000, but we already entered the square root of 1,000,000 up here, and I'd hate to have to type all that in again. So what you can do is hit second function, enter, and that gives you your last entry. Well, the last entry is answer to divided by 8, and that's not what we want because this time we'd actually get 125 divided by 8. What we actually want is the one above that. So if you hit it again, it will actually give you what you entered before that, which is 1 times 10 to the 6th power. So I don't want it to be 1 anymore. I want to know what 4 million, the square root of 4 million is. So if I go back, if I put my cursor on top of the 1 and just type a 4, it'll replace it. Just like that. And 4, the square root of 4 million is 2,000. So what if I wanted to know what the square root of 49 million was? We're just going to hit second function, enter again for the entry button. And when I scroll back, I don't want to go to the 4 because I want to actually add 49. So you go to the one behind the 4 and you hit the insert button. To access the insert button, it's second function delete, and that'll give you this line instead of your big square. And this line means you're in insert mode, so you can hit 9. Now at this point, it will stay in insert mode until you either finish this problem or move away from this spot. If you use the cursors and move away from this spot, it'll exit the insert mode. But if you want to keep typing numbers, you can go ahead and it'll continue to insert them before this E. The square root of 49 million is actually, wow, surprise, 7,000. Of course, sometimes this key shortcut involves so many keystrokes, second function enter, second function enter, second function enter, that it might just be quicker to retype it. But it's good to know the different ways to use your calculator so that you can make the best choices at hand. Last thing on this lesson is we already saw how to clear something that we've entered. Say I typed in this in on accident and I changed my mind, I don't want to use this. All you have to do is hit the clear button. Now, if I don't like that my last problem is filling my screen and I want to start with a clear screen, all you have to do is hit clear twice and that clears your entire home screen. That is a very useful shortcut. And the last most useful thing is if you ever accidentally press another button and your home screen looks funny, for example, this is the graphing screen, and you want to get back to the home screen, all you have to do is hit quit, which is second function mode. This video will stay on the internet if you need to come back and refer to it. You should be able to navigate through it so you don't have to listen to the whole thing and you can just pick out what you need. Also, be sure to, if you didn't the first time through, stop the video and play with your calculator the way that I've shown you, or better yet, take your calculator and show these things to your parents or your siblings so that the lessons become ingrained more permanently in your memory. Thank you so much, and I'll see you tomorrow.